Hi, welcome to Twin Killing, the podcast hosted by two twins. Do you have a better tagline than that, Marcus?
Not right now.
All right, think on it. Get back to me. All right, my name's Jason Luna.
I'm Marcus Luna.
Uh, yeah, we're identical twins. I am currently mostly living in Los Angeles as a stand-up comedian, actor, writer, basically anything creative that I can claim loosely in conversation. I do it. And Marcus, if you would introduce yourself, what would you say about your life right now?
Uh, I reside in San Diego mostly. I'm an engineer by day, and on weekends, I'm involved with the expansion soccer team, San Diego FC. Started here. I help Capo lead the section and chants and stuff. Yep, those are the main things about me.
When do you guys start playing soccer?
Well, we've already started.
Oh,
We're 3-2-1. Uh, we 6 games. Got another one this Saturday, hosting Seattle. Been a lot of fun.
awesome. Speaking of a lot of fun, video games. So I sent you the Nintendo Switch Direct from the 27th, which is
Right.
4 days ago as of this recording. Um, Before I get into the any thoughts you might have or thoughts I have, I'm kind of curious. Uh, did you have any awareness over these past few months about the build to the release of Nintendo Switch 2, or how much have you been hearing about that in your news cycle?
We vaguely talked about it a few months ago, but I've not been following it. I don't. I don't follow video games like you do, so it's probably something I'll eventually own because they make fun games. But no, I've not been tracking it. No,
Okay.
not nearly as much as you do.
Uh, so I know you play MLB The Show on your PS5 from time to
Yeah,
time. Is there any other video games you're currently playing right now or you're a big fan of?
I can't remember the exact name, but there's a the main game I'm playing on Switch right now is a the prequel to Phoenix Wright.
Oh yeah, it's like yeah, they have some weird name for it. Something Chronicles or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I really liked the whatever you call it, the modern Phoenix, the regular Phoenix Wright trilogy. That was fun. I played that. Uh,
Yeah.
so you did sit through the entire Switch presentation.
hmm
I appreciate you doing that. Were there any particular games or news items that stood out? You're like, wow, that's awesome, or something.
Uh, the two that I felt I could potentially enjoy the most off the top of my head were I can't remember the exact name, but the one where you're a guy and you travel around with Pac-Man, but he goes by Puck. And then the other one was the Metroid game looked cool.
Oh, Metro Prime 4? Yeah. I'm trying to remember what else. Oh, the one game I actually bought because it was available right after the show, and it was pretty cheap, so I was able to use my Nintendo Switch, I think called gold coins, those bonus coins you get from buying Switch games. But anyway, it's called Disney Villains Cafe.
Yeah, I figured you'd like that one.
Sort of like a, they described it as a like a, what do you call that? Not graphic novel, playable novel. There's a better term for that.
Yeah, because they said in the video that you mix drinks for the different villains, and there's infinite combinations. So every time you play the game, you get a different result.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
kind of like Disney Dreamlight Valley, which you've seen me play a few times. I like
Yeah.
I don't know, sort of quirky interactions you have from talking to Disney characters, like in quote unquote real time all the time. And it's just kind of fun and quirky. And for some reason, they all wear like modern outfits. So like Ursula wearing a tracksuit. It's a it's a fun experience so far.
Yeah, I think they intentionally silly it up, for lack of a better word, to make them less scary looking.
Yeah, it was definitely reminiscent of the trend in modern Disney cartoons, which is like wackiness above all else. So let's see what other games I'm excited about. Um, Dragon Quest One and Two. Do you have any familiarity with the Dragon Quest franchise?
Is that the one where? No, I don't really have with the actual games themselves, but play a lot of Fortune Street back in the Wii days, and they had those characters. Are those Dragon Quest characters?
Yes. The main character I remember from Fortune Street was Slime, and Slime is actually a. Oh, excuse me. Just hold for a second. Cut that out. But stupid, stupid. Slime was one of the smaller villains, like entry level. You encounter him in the wild. But he's kind of cute looking, so it makes sense that he become like a mascot, financial board game character. Uh, but yeah, the games themselves are not like Fortress Street at all. Obviously, a few games
Yeah.
are, but it's very like fairly difficult. Honestly, I've given up. I've played Dragon Quest three. They did a very similar remake to one and two, and Dragon Quest 11, and I had to give up both times because it just became like very difficult to actually succeed in the game. But they're fun. While they're play, while they're useful. If you
I don't
like.
really have the patience for RPGs. Like maybe patience is the right word. I don't know. Just it's not as appealing to me as first person shooter type action, that type of thing.
Yeah, I can see that. It's definitely difficult. I don't like RPGs that require so much thinking that the analysis becomes a hindrance to being able to just, like plug in and go, which is most RPGs.
Yeah, but they look great though. The It's kind of interesting watching the video. In a way, the HD 2D remakes almost have better graphics than the new games. The Like in that video, when there was another one that was oh, I can't remember the name, but it's kind of like a side-scrolling shooter thing where they had like four games you could get.
Huh.
Um, where both that and Dragon Quest were HD 2D remakes. Like the characters scroll the fighter jet thing and the characters scrolling across kind of look like the massive landscape. They kind of like paintings. It's really pretty looking.
Yeah, yeah. The Dragon Quest in particular is a very yeah, artisanal style, and the yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like it's probably a better example, but like Van Gogh, where the each blade of grass has like a texture to it. It's kind of, yeah, definitely interesting. So
Yeah.
I was right about the Puck game having a generic title. It's called Shadow Labyrinth. It's a Metroidvania. Speaking of Metroid, where you like, well, do you know what a Metroidvania is?
It's not being crazy about Samus's character.
Like, I guess that maybe that's part of it. But so Metroid and Castlevania the classic versions at least are supposed to have similar gameplay in which you can go through a map that's very large and exploration is encouraged. And I know, especially in the Metroid games, like there's a door you can't enter or a path or whatever, and then later on you get a power up that correlates exactly to that path. So you kind of have to remember or intuitively know to go back. It's a lot of backtracking. That's a Metroidvania.
I see. So Shadow Labyrinth is like that.
That's how it's being pitched with a very serious sounding Pac-Man sidekick.
You said Metroidvania.
Yeah, because Metroid plus Castlevania.
It's not like you said Metroidmania. So it's
Oh,
crazy about Metroid.
it's a zoom filter, I guess, or whatever phrase for zoom speak is.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. Story of Seasons, Grand Bazaar. I feel like I
Is that
might
the,
like it because
is
I
that-
like. What? Go ahead.
oh, that was the farming one, right?
Yeah, I liked it. I really liked Animal Crossing: New Horizons until it got
Yeah.
a little monotonous. But and I technically I beat Animal Crossing, which is such a weird thought. And Disney Dreamlight Valley, so might fit
That
that.
was that was a theme I noticed because there was multiple games that reminded me of Animal Crossing. Um, the only one other I could name is the other because there's two. It's like Tamagotchi with like animals, and then there was one of the final videos was a Tamagotchi with humans or something.
I remember Tamagotchi. There was some Tamagotchi World that didn't look as good to me, but I'm sure it might be entertaining.
Oh no, it wasn't Tamagotchi. It was
There was a Tamagotchi game though.
no, there was, but then the last video it had a different name, but it had people look like the Mii's from the Wii.
Oh,
Like a
yeah, that's a different style of game. It's Tamagotchi had a really generic subtitle. It's based on an old 3DS game, I believe, called Tamagotchi Life, and it's kind of like I have a game on my Switch called Miitopia that's like an RPG version. But the general idea is that the Mii's say random things,
yeah.
and it's kind of like the crux of the experience. But very popular game. I definitely want to play that new one. Uh,
Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but there's another game that looked kind of interesting that is that it's probably a little more action packed than the Phoenix Wright style games, but that there was a detective game.
huh.
Well, actually, there's two detective games. One was a RPG with monsters.
Wow. Yeah.
I didn't like that. I don't that one, I just don't like RPGs. But yeah, did set the plot sound interesting because he was uh, a junior detective who also has the ability to summon monsters. And he's
Oh,
undercovering a government conspiracy or something.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, but there was another
Oh,
detective game that was
yeah.
that didn't look like RPG. It was more like solving puzzles and interviewing people. That's the one that was more exciting to me. Um,
Yeah. I was kind of curious about because the first game you said the monster one. I believe that's Raidu remastered, the mystery of the soulless army, and yeah,
that makes sense.
it's just that might be there was one game that was a continuation of the oh, I can remember what it's called. Oh, the Persona games, just like a Japanese RPG. Also has monsters, but it's like set in a school a lot of times. Anyway,
It's funny you said school because there was a witch school game too.
yeah, it's so hard looking at just the names of these games, remember which one's which. But yes, there was multiple witch. Well, that might just be Witchbrook. I don't know. But there's a few. I think a couple witch games in this presentation. Uh, let's see what else we have.
There's the Pokemon game. I'm sure you're excited about that.
Oh yeah, I liked the Pokemon Legends Arceus, which was more of the origin. Like it was like pre Pokemon. It was like the first Pokédex. The game was also got difficult near the middle, but because they had boss fights and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to explore Pokemon from like a adventure point of view as opposed to a kind of canned gym to gym experience. Did you ever play Pokemon? Like a regular game?
Mm, no, only N64 days uh, gave Pokemon Snapple Oral, and then
Hmm.
there was like the Pokemon Battle Royale game.
Oh yeah, the Pokemon Stadium series.
That's what it was. It wasn't Battle Royale.
I mean, it is battle. I guess they're all battle based, I suppose. But yeah, that
No,
was.
it's a fitting title, but the actual one was Stadium. You're right.
In fact, nowadays battle royale means like a shooting game where you just get matched into rooms and play the shooting game over and over again.
Like PUBG or
Yeah,
like
Overwatch was
Fortnite.
yeah. Fortnite's number one now. Overwatch used to be number one. Uh, real quick here. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention Rhythm Heaven Groove. Do you remember that one?
So there was two rhythm games. There was one where it was like white orbs jumping through hoops,
Yeah, that was Rhythm Heaven, or Rhythm Heaven Groove.
and then there was one that kind of reminded me of like Lemmings. It's like a bunch of little things running around doing things like fighting villains, uh,
Well, that one's
throwing.
weird because that one's called Patapon 1 and 2, and apparently it's a remake, but I've never heard of the original. And even watching it, like other people's videos on it, I'm not really sure what it is. So, but could be fun, I guess. Seemed a little hard because it's like an action game with rhythm requirements.
Yeah,
There's also Rift of the Necro Dancer. I'm just not that into rhythm only games.
it's great. It's probably the best name of the group though.
Yeah, definitely got some gravitas to that name. Rhythm Heaven Groove. Rhythm Heaven is really well regarded amongst people who played those games before I really got into Nintendo all the time. So I'll give it a shot probably. Tamagotchi Plaza is the name of that generic Tamagotchi game. It didn't look as good to me.
Yeah,
Could give it a shot, but yeah, I'm not.
well, it was like Animal Crossing. It reminded me of Animal Crossing at least.
Yeah, I think yeah, pretty much. Anything else really big? Oh, there was yeah, everybody golf hot shots.
They looked pretty good. Not, I mean, it wasn't as silly as like Mario Golf and stuff, but
Yeah,
well,
uh,
they did have wacky things like tornadoes and stuff like that.
I did like how it had a bit more of a traditional setup than the new Mario Golf, whatever that was called. Mario Golf Rush. You played that at least once.
That got way too silly. Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of like golf's supposed to be relaxing, where you just set up your shot and then sit there and almost running around.
Yeah.
Um, so the only other big one, because we talked about Tamagotchi Life, which was like the closer,
Yeah.
uh, Marvel Cosmic Invasion,
Yeah.
which is supposed to be a return to the arcade.
It was very arcade style.
Yeah, and I really liked, obviously, the concept, like the obscurity of the roster is very appealing. I'm sure it's fun. I just hope there's some barrier for people like me who don't want to lose at games. But I'm sure there. It seems like most games have that now, some kind of accessibility option.
There was at least one game in the video where they you could adjust the difficulty. Maybe that was one of them.
Maybe. And then there was the Nintendo Today app. I assume you did not download that app.
No.
It's actually really cool because they put news stories on it that are like very like pressing on the
Yeah.
app every day and free. So you just sort of like can use it like a resource. I have a widget on my phone for it. It's like a big block on my first screen. They revealed that the live action Zelda movie's coming out in 2 years yesterday.
And Chris Pratt playing Link.
Obviously that clear fact has not been confirmed yet. Yeah. So something else I want to talk about, and yeah, it's kind of timely. We're talking about this direct today because by the time if people listen to this first episode, fingers crossed, most of them are probably going to be listening to this after the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct on
Oh.
Wednesday. They're supposed to reveal everything about the new console Wednesday. The my small pocket of the internet has been a buzz for like pretty much the whole year because they announced this direct back then. But anyway, I'm curious. For someone who is not tracking the news and the like quote unquote leaks of games and stuff, what do you think or would like to see on the Nintendo Switch 2 this year? I'll give you some stuff that's real. On the trailer for the like the first debut trailer, whatever you want to call it, they showed a Mario Kart game with like I think it was like 24 racers on it.
Wow.
There's only 8 on the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So there's speculation that it'll be like some kind of like seasonal story based mode, or more focused on the single player experience. It's all speculation, but yeah,
No, I don't know. A lot of people get caught up in the hardware or whatever of a new system.
yeah,
So it just depends on the quality of the games.
yeah,
Nintendo's very consistent, so it's the one I'm least worried about the quality of games from console to console. I mean, they all the competitors out there have great games, so I mean, shouldn't quote unquote be worried. The only thing I'm really worried about is the price.
yeah. The leaks have been saying 400 just for the
It's actually
console.
really good compared to what the PS6 and whatever the next Xbox will probably cost.
Yeah, the fully modded out PS5 is 700 already, I think. So yeah, things are getting intense. I've heard the games are gonna go up to 70, which seems about fair for general market, I guess. But yeah,
It's not really Yeah, the inflation on that compared to other things in life is not that rapid. It was
yeah,
50 and 60,
inflation
not.
is far less manageable or predictable than video games. But uh, so okay, I'll just tell you what I guess what's rumored. people have been saying that there's going to be a new Mario game, which makes sense because Super Mario Odyssey is like I don't know, it's really really old. I don't even. That was like one of the first games I bought for this Switch. And it's going to be open world Mario, which has to be defined as to what that is.
I mean, wasn't Super Mario Odyssey open world?
Yeah, but there was this game. It was kind of like almost like a side game. They did a remake of Super Mario 3D Worlds. It's called Bowser's Fury, and you'd run around on like like a this big circle, like really big, where it's like ocean and then little islands. So there's no gap. There's no like load screen or getting on a ship or whatever. It's like you can run all the way to all the levels. So people are thinking that the new game will be like that, whatever that is. Still very up in the air. And yeah, probably put the Metroid game on both systems.
Yeah.
That's the rumor. Uh, yeah. So we'll probably talk about that some on next week's episode. Uh, I thought there was gonna be more with this, but anyway, let's talk some baseball. So, in my very, you know, very anyway, when I'm just sitting around thinking, I started thinking about what my Mount Rushmore of baseball would be for every team, and I figured we could start at least with just with one, so I don't get too monotonous. And I'll give you my Mount Rushmore for the Dodgers. You can comment on anything or whatever, and then you can try to give your Mount Rushmore if it's if it's different than mine. I gave myself rules when constructing my Mount Rushmores, which is pretty
Okay.
basic. Which is I lean directly into championship seasons or the most successful a team has been, and one per decade, one player per decade. You don't have any of
Interesting.
those restrictions
Yeah.
necessarily, and I didn't. I only did players, but if there's any particular, I don't know, executives, coach slash manager, announcer, etc., you can do that as well. I think the Dodgers are a particularly interesting team for that uh, insertion, but
Well,
okay,
obviously with Ben, yeah.
yeah. So I'll give you my Dodgers, Mount Rushmore. So just off championships and going earliest to latest. Uh, Number one, Jackie Robinson. Got a lot of historical superlatives, obviously, on top of the 1955 championship.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Sandy Koufax, because it slides right in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably the best pitcher in team history. It's pretty easy. And then when I got into the 80s, my restriction really, uh, had issues because like my first knee jerk was to put Fernando and Kirk Gibson both in, but since I thought one per decade, I'm gonna give the slight edge to Fernando because he played on the '88 team, even if he was in a relative decline. And then the fourth one, skipping to the 2020s, it's a tough one too, because Shohei's such an exciting choice, such an obvious choice, but because he wasn't there in 2020, God, I'm between Mookie and Kershaw. Mookie because active contributor to both, an excellent player, obviously. Kershaw because statistically he's the greatest pitcher and he's number two to Koufax. So I guess with the historical thing, I'll give it to Kershaw. So Jackie Robinson, Sandy Koufax, Brando Valenzuela, Clayton Kershaw. What do you think of my Mount Rushmore?
You can't argue with any of them. They're all Dodger legends, and they all have their spot in baseball history, let alone Dodger history. Kind of put me on the spot here, but kind of thinking about it and kind of apply the going cross sports here. I'm playing the well, I guess the Dodgers do this too for the most part, but I was thinking the Lakers, where they only put people in the Hall of Fame in their retired jerseys. Dodgers actually are close to that too, although they made exceptions. Um,
Hmm.
because they did for Fernando, and I think they did because they just lost him right before they retired his jersey, and they lost him a couple years later. Uh, there was some other guy who I never remember his name that died in World War II or something. Um, anywho, we'll go through retired jersey numbers later at some point. So I'm gonna go my first guy because of I'll kind of go by decades, kind of like you did. First guy, it's kind of based on he made the Hall of Fame and he was great when he played, but it's kind of based on his potential that I'm putting him on Mount Rushmore because of what he would have been if he didn't get hurt. But I'm putting Campanella on there.
Yeah.
He would have been probably the best catcher of his generation. One can argue he already was, but if he didn't get in that unfortunate car accident,
Yeah, I think based on rates, he's probably the greatest Dodger catcher of all time. I mean, obviously Piazza had more accumulation with his health or whatever, but yeah.
it's tempting to go completely different than yours, but I can't argue for. I don't really. Obviously, they had contributions on offense through those six. People forget how dominant the '60s Dodgers were. They won a lot of World Series. Well, it's late '50s and '60s, basically when they got to Los Angeles. But can't really put anyone on offense or like Drysdale ahead of Koufax. So
Hmm.
I'll put Sandy on there. I don't think I'm gonna put any '80s guys on there, but I'm gonna put Kershaw on there for the two rings and just the sheer numbers he has and winning an MVP. He's probably gonna get the 3,000 strikeouts this year, maybe even next year. I think he really likes playing, so he might not. Who knows if he'll even retire before next year. So I'll put him on. Yeah, I'm not following your decades rule.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
of Kershaw's contemporaries on there. I'll put Freddie Freeman on there.
Wow. Not a long time as a Dodger.
Yeah. When you think about Gibson, how many years did he play with the Dodgers?
Had to have only been two or three. Yeah, it's just that home run. Yeah, yeah. And MVP, but yeah.
So I'm kind of breaking the rules of this whole exercise because I think my brain is kind of crediting his overall greatness with Atlanta, with the Dodgers. But I, what put him over the top for me was the first Grand Slam World Series history to win a game like that.
Yeah. It was
Gibson would probably have Gibson would have higher value for me if I was could remember it better. We were
yeah.
over 2 years, just 2.5 years old when or whatever when Gibson hit the
But I
less than that
mean,
even.
that's fair. But if you think about the lineup that Gibson played with, that won the World Series. I know they had like Hershiser and stuff, but it has to be one of the weakest lineups to win a championship, and then he won the MVP. I mean,
Yeah,
it is one year.
I
It
don't.
is 1 year, but yeah,
I'd probably put like even though I differ with his politics, Garvey or Say over Gibson in the if we went through if we ranked every quote unquote great Dodger ever, I'd probably rank them ahead of the both of them ahead of Gibson.
none of us really seriously mentioned Piazza, other than besides. I mean, I guess he didn't play that long with the Dodgers. But
Yeah, well, it's the only one of the four. You definitely would have made the if there was a fifth or definitely top 10. He would have definitely been there. I just I don't know. Part of me doesn't even want to think about it because talk about a soul crushing event when finding out the Dodgers traded him and then they find out what they got for him.
what did they get for? Well, who was like the player they got back? Think anyone?
It had to be someone. Was it mostly prospects?
Because they sent Todd Zeal out too. That's all I know about that trade. So apparently the Dodgers got Gary Sheffield. Oh my God, I'm blanking. Wow. Bobby Bonilla and Charles Johnson. Those are the three main acquisitions of the trade.
Yeah, in theory, and Chef had a lot of good years left, but Dodgers were such cheapskates back then. I didn't bother trying to keep him for that long.
Well, he left early because he asked for a trade or whatever. Right?
Probably because they weren't very good, and I don't know. And he was very volatile too. But
Yeah, both things are true. Dodgers did not want to pay him, and he did not want to be there. Always remember Gary Sheffield went to the Braves, and he was fine there, I guess. And then he went to the Yankees as a free agent, and he didn't like being there either, apparently.
I see it a lot, especially see it more often now. Probably, I guess, in terms of baseball, because there's plenty of basketball players who are like that. But Nolan Arenado comes to mind because he went out of Colorado and now he wants out of St. Louis.
Yeah, I guess he thought he'd win a championship. That's the only thing I can think of.
Like, I honestly think he thought, well, I don't know if it's just the Dodgers, but he's probably hoping the Rockies trade him there, and then the Rockies are not going to trade a All-Star in division to the Kings of the division too, and then now it's the opposite problem for him. Dodgers, I don't think they want him anymore.
Yeah,
For the right price, if they threw in Mason Wynn and or Ryan Helsley too or something.
that's the problem. Is that the only way it makes sense if you thought Arnaudo was going to turn it around, and I don't think anyone involved thinks that Arnaudo is going to have a big comeback.
I don't know why he doesn't want to go to the Astros.
I don't know because the whole well, I guess they've overcome their cheating problem. The,
He dropped a video on Instagram a while ago with Dodger Blue by Kendrick. I guess he really wants to go there, but like I said, they have plenty of people at every position, so that they're not desperate for a.
yeah, I still think he might has potential to be better than I guess Muncy or whatever, but just in
Cardinals want some type of haul for him, though.
yeah. Yeah, the no trade clause in theory helps the Dodgers, but in reality, I think it really lowers the competitive market for Arenado.
Yeah.
So anyway, if we had started this podcast like a week earlier, we could have done. I guess we could still do some kind of predictions for the season and stuff. But I had some thoughts about things that are happening this year. So let's get to it. The Dodgers and Padres are both undefeated. Your thoughts, or as of today, I don't know what's going on today, but yeah.
Well, the Dodgers are playing the same Braves that the Padres just swept. So the Braves will be hungry, but the Dodgers are very good with Glasnow on a lot of rest. So I would think the Dodgers heavily favor in that game. Uh,
Do you know anything about the Padres? I haven't really been following them. Is there anything that's like,
no, I haven't been watching much of the games. I was watching Dodgers instead on Thursday and Friday, and then was at the soccer game on Saturday. But I did look at the box scores or whatever each game. They pitched incredibly well, and they had timely hitting. Um,
yeah, what's his face? That is it Jackson Merrill, center fielder?
he's a beast.
Yeah, he's like carrying the team right now.
Tatis hit a home run, yeah, so they're actually very healthy right now. Um, but they got Randy Vasquez with a bad ERA last year and did not pitch in the postseason at all. He pitched really well in his game. Pivetta didn't pitch till game four, but I think he didn't give up any runs yesterday. Um,
So this feels like a small size, although
it's obviously a very small size. It's
one
four,
series.
four over 162 for the Padres and five over 162 for the Dodgers. So it's
Yeah. Dodgers look smooth though. I mean, like aside from Roki Sasaki walking everyone, seems like everyone's contributing.
yeah,
Tanner,
they did barely beat they had to win, come from behind and win on a walk-off fashion against in game two of that series.
yeah,
But to your point, it's like if the bottom line does anything, and that's what happened. They're down two runs, and then Conforto hits a tying RBI double, and then Will Smith can pinch hit because Austin Barnes started such a luxury, and then go to Shohei Mookie and Freddie after that.
yeah. And Mookie had that like he lost like 30 pounds with his illness or whatever, and then he's like arguably the best hitter on the team. It
I heard 15. You're trying to increase the legend of Mookie Betts.
was more than 15. I heard, but anyway,
It's gonna grow each time you talk about it. He lost 150 pounds.
yeah, he was literally skin and bones. Doesn't that modifier adds nothing.
Yeah, negative matter. I don't know how you even got held a bat.
Yeah, they call it antimatter mook. So the other storyline I want to talk about, there's probably other things. Okay, two things related, but I'll leave with the first one. So the freaking Brewers gave up 15 home runs to the Yankees, and then today they lost 11 to like 2 to the Royals. Are the Brewers finally revealing their budget? Or do you think they can turn around and and cruise to the division yet again?
Yankees are a bad matchup for anyone.
I guess. In theory, a lot of swing and miss.
Oh, but I kind of let me finish here. I'm just saying that, but Yankees tied a record for most amount of home runs in their first three games to start a season. So it's like usually not that bad against the Yankees. Yankees do have new bats, but they're within the rules, so I feel like better pitching could have got more people out.
Well, that's the problem with the Brewers is their pitching keeps diminishing. They lost what's his face last year to Baltimore.
Burns.
Yeah, and then Corbin Burns, yeah. And then Nestor Cortez, and then guys I'm not too familiar with starting. Just seems like they're finally whittling it down.
We're so spoiled as Dodger fans, and especially compared to people like a team like Milwaukee, who is they just feel desperate to sell all the time. They always sell. They always get rid of someone each year.
Yeah.
I
I mean, it's amazing because they say all that, and they won, what was it, three division titles? They won convincingly last year. I
know,
mean,
but they just traded Devin Williams away, and then
yeah. I mean, that Dave Williams is not their problem right now, but I mean, the back end of the bullpen or whatever, because like the front
well,
end's not helping. But
bad starting pitching. Well, at least the one start a
I
piece
feel
so
bad.
far.
I mean, he kind of seems like a bit of, I don't know. I'm sure he's a great guy, but Nestor Cortez is a bit of a tude, and then he went to the Brewers, and he gave up the first back-to-back home runs to lead off a game. You gotta feel bad for the guy.
I don't feel bad for him as a Dodger fan. He said we almost won game one. We should have won game one. We should have won game one and game five. I'm always gonna think we're the better team. It's such a jerky thing to say. I don't know. It's too strong, but
No, I mean
I get
that
supporting
doesn't
your team and whatnot, but that's just not very logical. He's clearly very biased.
just like oh man, just like Marcus Stroman this year. That last year the Yankees told him to go to the bullpen, and he was like, "I don't want to go to the bullpen." So either he's standing up for what he knows, or he's a jerk. But it's one of the two. So news story that developed further last couple days. Do you remember what they're called? The bats?
They're there's some type of composite bats.
They have a fancy name. Torpedo bats.
Wow.
So apparently the Yankees they didn't invent these bats. They've been popular for not they've been used for several years. Have become insanely popular thanks to that series against the Brewers. Do you think it is cheating to put extra wood in the top of the bat? MLB has said it's not cheating, so I guess that kind of answers the question. But
Uh, no, I guess not. I never, I never thought about the amount of wood throughout a bat.
well, I mean that is the nature of the baseball bat design. Is that you got a skinny handle for your hands, and then
I don't know, just bats are so weird because obviously he was taking steroids too, but Barry Bonds was breaking all his records, hitting 73 home runs and whatnot, and he was using maple bats. I guess it might have been the same principle because he broke his bats more often. I mean, not all the time, but they could break if you don't hit them right because I think they were more thin through the that area from the handle to the barrel.
hmm.
So it's been going on for a long time, and I don't know. People in a rush to judgment over 3 games. They're probably using those torpedo bats in spring training, and
Yeah. In fact,
I
let me interrupt, but what's his name? The Met shortstop Francisco Lindor.
Lindor
They were saying in today's game that he's been using one the whole year. No one even really noticed.
took a bazillion home runs in opening day or second game or whichever day it was where they they destroyed Nestor.
It might have been game two, but whatever. Same
I think
thing.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's right, because they played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Not to sidetrack here, but that was the frustrating thing of the weekend was Why do the Dodgers have Sunday off? It just doesn't make sense.
Mets too. That was such an empty day for me as a my particular taste as a baseball fan. But I don't.
I
I
thought that
can't
was
watch
never a
Dodgers.
thing. I thought you always played Sundays.
Yeah, whatever the MLB math for scheduling is, like there were a lot of games on Sunday, so give the Dodgers room for the road trip or home trip or whatever they were doing. I guess.
I don't. It's kind of annoying personally that. Well, I guess in that way it makes sense because for whatever reason they're obsessed with doing opening day on Thursday. I think they've been doing that every year for a while now.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm sure find some reason why opening day always had to be on a weekday. At least
Beneficial for me is a and for a lot of people who work to have it be on Friday.
yeah, just has the mystique kind of like election day, which is bizarre. 'Cause I don't know how much else they have in common.
I
But
don't want to get into politics on this podcast.
I just meant the day, not like the whatever. But yeah,
I know I was being silly.
go Nationals because they stink. They got a lot of exciting young players, but yeah.
They're the team closest to me, therefore they're the best.
You're not going politics. We're not going politics, so you get impression. Okay, yeah, yeah. Uh, what others? Any other baseball oddities, news turns to talk about? Uh, fine. So we both think the Dodgers are going to win the West. Skip that prediction, I guess. Who do you think is going to pull out the Central? Cubs have the biggest offseason.
uh, yeah, it's hard to pick the Brewers at this point.
Reds are good with a trendy manager pick, but can you really believe in Cincinnati? I cannot.
No,
And then my Pirates are pretty bad. And then
Pirates are the dark. Or I think the Pirates have potential due to the quality of their pitching staff, but they just will not invest in their offense. They're still too cheapskates.
they got Alexander Canario from the Mets.
Okay, I didn't
14
realize Alexander Canario was Willie Mays in his prime. Uh,
kind of reminds me a lot more of like Dave Kingman or something because he just waits for the home run. He goes like boom. He's better than Dave Kingman, but this way it looks like he goes like this goes like boom.
yep, boom is a good way to hit home runs.
That's the noise the bat makes. Then you know.
So I'll go Cubs. Steele had an excellent. Steele's been excellent lately. Imanaga's good.
They got a balanced offense. The guy from the Dodgers, what's his name?
Michael Bush.
Yeah, Michael Bush. There's other players too, but they have some nice hitters on that
Well,
team.
Kyle Tucker is the big one, and he's real. He's kind of underrated. He doesn't get talked about that much, I don't
He
think.
was on a star-studded team in the Houston days. So yeah, but yeah,
His he has pretty consistent OPS type numbers and stuff like that. So I'll pick the Cubs.
okay. So it's by far the most contentious division to predict. One, because I'm a fan of one of the teams, but two, because there are three trendy picks at the beginning of the year: Phillies, Braves, Mets, and see you next.
Even before the Braves got swept in their opening 4 game series, I wasn't as bullish on them as some people were. Definitely better than the Nationals and the Marlins. We're not even considering. I would
You mentioned the
imagine.
Pirates. I think the Nationals are an upside pick because they have a lot of hitterish prospects who are playing every day, and they could. I think there's definitely a chance they could at least elevate past one of the big three in the East.
I think consistency is hard though with young guys.
Yeah, and the pitching is still there's no real star like Mackenzie Gore, other people I can never name on Baseball Grid or whatever. But
Is Joe Ross still pitching there?
He's still pitching. I don't know if it's with the Nationals.
Whatever.
So anyway, so the big three or big two, I guess, for you. I know it's biased pick, but the Mets have looked really smooth in spring training with the pitching. They have Juan Soto. Phillies are getting older. Mets all the way, baby.
I mean, the Phillies won it last year.
Yeah, and the Braves, if they were healthy, could. But Spencer Strider's not even pitching yet, so I'm not picking the Braves for sure. But yeah,
And as we're recording today, Profar got pinged for PEDs.
it's a real bummer. I mean, obviously, punish people who do bad things, but yeah, that was a big linchpin for their offense.
It's kind of surreal because I didn't talk to or meet him or anything, but or as I said earlier, at the SDFC game this weekend, and they ended up showing a lot of the minority owners throughout the game. And this is the baseball connection: is that Manny Machado is one of the minority owners of the SDFC.
Uh-huh.
And guess who was sitting next to him in the luxury box he was sitting in?
Jurickson Profar
It was. Even though he
played for
left San Diego, he was in town,
2000.
and I'm sure he's close to Machado or whatever. So, yep, he's sitting there. Little I know, looking at him on the jumbotron that he was taking HCG. I can't remember what it stands for, but it's that pregnancy hormone that the women take it, and one of the darker. I shouldn't say darker. It's not death or anything, but that Manny Ramirez took in that 1 year to get suspended.
It's not really dark. It's the exact same thing as this situation.
No, I just life and death and stuff. I don't want to call taking steroids dark, but
It's bad. I don't think anyone's a big fan of it. Hopefully. Anyway, so you picking between the Phillies and the Metsies?
sorry, I got sidebar about
That's fine. That was a
being in
fun
the same
sidebar.
building as same building as Profar. Uh, I picked the Phillies to repeat. I think you're right about probably being older overall, but I think the Mets will still make the playoffs. I believe it really helps to make the playoffs for big spenders like them to make the playoffs when you have three wildcard teams instead of two or one. But the Mets they'll come back. But Montas got hurt, and who else got hurt? Quintana's still there, and he got hurt or something.
Quintana's long gone. It's the guy who used to pitch for Oakland. He has Shamanaya.
Yeah, so we'll
Quintana's.
see the rotation.
Anyway, yeah.
They did pitch well in Houston this weekend.
By the way, speaking of things happening a lot while this was recording, Pete Alonso hit a grand slam today against the Marlins, and he's looking a lot more professional as a hitter this year so far.
Probably you always seem to like it in New York. So in terms of his comfort, it might have been good for him to stay there instead of I don't know who would have paid him, but getting the long-term deal he wanted somewhere else.
Yeah, all the ones that made sense, they dropped out instantly. Like Washington was there for a while, but they just didn't want to pay him. There's a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, so it could be a contentious division. Fun to watch, I guess.
Yep.
Uh, AL West is like the opposite. It's more of like playing to the middle as opposed to being great teams. So let's see. The Mariners have good pitching, but they've had that for a few years, so whatever. Astros are good, but obviously depleted. And the Rangers look good on paper, but were terrible last year. So who you got?
No love for Oakland or the Los Angeles Angels.
A lot of people are throwing Oakland in the sleeper team category. It's just so hard because, it's the equivalent to like college football. Like, who's the five-star player on offense for the A's. Like Lawrence Butler's looking pretty good, but he hasn't done it for a full year yet.
Well, it's the same appeal that you just described with Washington.
I think I like Washington's hitters more than Oakland's hit or Jeez, I said it. I said it. Sacramento's hitters.
I just call them the A's.
That's what you're supposed to call them, but yeah,
I like the A's more than the Nationals because of
because in California they're
just
awesome.
just because of one guy, but Brett Rooker's power potential. I mean, he already hit 30 some home runs last year, but
And Mason Miller's like a right-handed Aroldis Chapman. I mean, he's really good.
yeah, I hope the Dodgers can get him at some point. It costs a lot though.
So anyway, so I don't think the A's deserve the sleeper thing,
It's
but
kind of
yeah,
it's kind of being silly about picking them in the division. I don't know. I might be using last year too much to guide my pick, but the Rangers felt like a mess last year, and I don't know if they fixed all that. Uh, although I do love Corey Seager, but I also love Christian Walker, and I think that was a sneaky good pickup for them at first base with that short porch and left field for home games.
yeah, and Cam Smith and right. I mean, he's a terrible right fielder because he's a third baseman, but in terms of a hitter, Cam Smith is definitely an underrated commodity. I'm kind of leaning towards the Astros because kind of like the Yankees back in the '90s. You just expect them to win everything. So I would barely go Astros over Rangers. I think that Rangers are very good, and if you looked at their what they have right now, you definitely bump up your opinion. But yeah, Astros. So you go Astros too.
Yeah,
Poor Mariners. Talk about never buying offense like the Pirates. This is like,
they're a better version of the Brewers, I would say, and how they're run.
yeah, yeah. The
Because
Brewers ran.
they at least paid J Rod.
Yeah, pay one guy.
The poor Brewers paid Yelich, who's an average player at best now.
It's better than he was as worst, but yeah, it's true. So if you thought the ALS was bad, can I introduce you to the AL Central? Let's see. So
No, I think that's the I take issue with that because I think it was it had been the worst division of baseball before, but I think the Royals have bubbled up really well. Royals and the Tigers have bubbled up really well. They were put to be frank bad teams, but they made the playoffs last year, and I think they've gotten better, both of them. And the Guardians,
Guardians got worse. Still could be
yeah.
good, but they
Speaking
yeah.
issue of cheap teams, people complain about the Dodgers. Why don't you get your own team to spend money? Anyways, obviously the White Sox are cellar dwellers still. Maybe they'll figure it out. I doubt it. But and then the last one is
Yeah, Minnesota's pretty bad.
oh yeah, they didn't look good this weekend.
Minnesota's got some vague hope because they sort of maintained their middle tier players, unlike the White Sox. But
Yeah, I probably have the Twins locked in at fourth and the White Sox locked in at fifth. Uh, but in terms of winning the division, even though Detroit got swept, so they're actually last place, I think, because I think everyone else won at least one a game right now. They looked really good, and they were competitive in the first two games at least. They lost both by no, I was gonna say last like one run, but I think the Dodgers walk off was by 2 runs.
I think there should be a what do you call it, a lowered tax from playing the Dodgers. See how the Tigers do in their next series or whatever. So I agree that the Tigers are good. They were really good in the playoffs last year.
So I feel the Tigers more than the Royals, so I think they'll bounce back from the sweep and narrowly win the division over the Royals.
Yeah,
Bobby Witt's the best player in the division, arguably the best player in the league. Uh,
I'd probably do similar but opposite. Royals. So Royals and Tigers are both depending on young players to maintain or get better.
yeah,
Royals have a better offense. I saw India playing today against the lowly Brew Crew, and he looked really good. So I think I give the edge to Kansas City. If they played in the real division, none of those teams would be very good.
it should be tight to the end, kind of like we talked about with the Mets and Phillies. I think.
Yeah, you can't really count out the Guardians. Something in the water with their pitching mix. Although they used the bullpen insanely last year, and Clase had like his worst outing ever in the playoffs against the Yankees. So
That's right. Three Central teams made the playoffs last year. It's crazy.
yep, I don't know what the Tigers had Screwball, Guardians had the bullpen. Royals were just like pretty good. I don't know. They had good pitching too, though. Lugo was good. Anyway, oh, this shows me really long. Okay, cut that part out, obviously. Uh, Wrap it up with the AL East. So Yankees are the defending pennant winners. Have a weird lineup with old injured guys who look good so far this year.
Yeah.
Sox improved a lot with their money, and then it gets really weird after that. The Orioles spent no money but were good last year. The Rays sold off everything and lost their stadium, and the Blue Jays are just hovering at the feet of Vlad Jr. So
Well,
seems like a very top-heavy division right now, unless the Orioles, shock everyone by being really good. Yeah,
they're having the feet of Vlad Jr. and it's bad juju to have your best player reject $500 million from you.
wants to go to the Mets, baby.
To be a DH full time, or I guess Alonso be DH full time.
Alonso could leave after any of these years of his contract. I'm not saying he will, but that's on the table. But, yeah.
I don't know. Besides the Dodgers, this would be the second easiest pick, I think. Even with Cole needing Tommy John,
He's gone entirely, but obviously, but yeah, yeah.
uh, I don't think the Red Sox did enough to catch them.
I mean, Devers is having the worst statistical season in the entire league. So
Three
that's one.
games, but
That strikeout rate though,
years.
that's insane.
Who did they play this weekend? Do you remember?
It was Texas for one of the, that must have been it. Texas.
Yeah.
Speaking of Texas looking good, they have really good pitching. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
very fragile because someone like DeGrom could pop his elbow out anytime he wants. But
Probably
Springer
will.
could. But yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, I agree. The Yankees look good. It's so weird. Like Paul Goldschmidt could just like break a hip or something, and they would just ruin their year. But yeah, a lot of players like that on the Yankees.
Yeah. He and Bellinger will be up and down. They'll both be
Chisholm,
better. They'll both be better at home
yeah.
because hitters dream to play in Yankee Stadium regularly.
And they got some good prospects I saw in the spring training that they could call up. And
Jason Dominguez
he's
and
playing. Dominguez is playing now. He looks awesome. But yeah, yeah. And Oswaldo Cabrera's been playing for a couple years now. But Yankees have a good farm system. They're kind of like sneaky Dodgerish with some of their development. But, yeah, yeah.
no, Cashman's pretty good at he's more old school than the Friedman operation in Los Angeles, but he does similar things.
Speaking of Dodgers, Yankees prospect George Lombard Jr. It's a very tall, buff prospect, son of everyone's favorite first base coach.
Yeah. now Tiger's bench coach, right? Unless he left for some reason. That's why he left the Dodgers was to get the bench coach job under Hinch in Detroit.
Yeah. Kind of want to pick the Red Sox because, like I said, they're younger, but Alex Cora cheated the Dodgers, so it's hard to root for him.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like we're heading near the end here. So, did you do the immaculate grid?
I've done everything except the
Okay, whatever.
one day on 90s music. I didn't have time to.
Okay, just for this show because it's a baseball podcast. Let's just do the grid.
Okay.
Try to do it a little fast, I guess. I really bad with the statistical ones, but I wasn't sure. But anyway, White Sox, Yankees, Tim Raines, 6%.
Jose Contreras, 3%.
Oh yeah, I always forget he played for the White Sox. 30 home runs for the White Sox. I was just not sure who did anything, so I put Frank Thomas 37%.
Uh, Soon to be, I guess he's in, I don't, I guess you're not inducted till the ceremony, right?
For baseball reference, it counts. Hall of Famer.
Oh, Dick Allen, 3%.
So, yeah, well deserved. Definitely boy. Uh, 30 save season for the White Sox. Again, go obvious. Bobby Thigpen, 29%.
Oh, I'm glad you told me that because I was kicking myself for not putting that instead of putting Bobby Jenks, 27%. But it's a little bit better to go with Bobby Jenks.
I guess the record is so famous.
Yeah.
But whatever, yeah. Phillies, Yankees, uh, Royals legend and Mariners legend Raul Ibanez, 6%.
I use this guy a lot. J.A. Happ, 1%.
You know, I often forget it's Yankees run. It's pretty short.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know who hit 3 home runs for any team, so Michael Jack Schmidt for the Phillies, 14%.
I looked it up later. He barely hit 30 home runs with the Phillies, but I got it. 1% for Scott Rowland.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on him taking 30 with anyone, but he's, yeah. 30 saves. I don't know. I don't know stats. Brad Lidge, 21% for the Phillies.
I kind of got lucky that he had this many saves with the Phillies. I know he was their closer for a little bit, but Jose Mesa, 5%.
Yeah, I don't think of him having great numbers ever, but he stuck around for 500 years. So my lowest statistic by far, A's Yankees, and one I use all the time when he's available. Met legend, J.D. Davis,
What's the number?
0.3.
Yeah. David Justice, 3%.
A's David Justice.
He was like,
Later
he
or
looked like
earlier?
those Moneyball years. He played for them for like half a year. Half was a trade line acquisition and played for half a year.
Okay. And the only clever 30 home run guy I did for the A's, Double X, Jimmy Fox, 5%.
Same.
And then there were so many closers I should have put, but again, I don't know what the exact numbers are for their save totals. So Dennis Eckersley, freaking 55% for the A's.
The most volatile of the Moneyball closers, Billy Koch, 6%.
I remember he got 30 saves. I barely remember him at all.
He apparently was with the A's for 1 year, but he got
Wow.
44 saves in that year.
Wow. Yeah, I got 180 something.
55.
55.
I got that
Well,
recently too. Yeah. Get Sammy Hagar a lot.
so Immaculate Grid is the closest thing I thought of to an ending to this show. I'm sure we'll come up with something more better ceremonially or whatever.
Yeah.
Next week, we'll talk some baseball. We'll also talk about the April 2nd Switch 2 presentation because it is lined up perfectly with this episode. And yeah, that's about it. See you next week. Any
Thanks for
any parting words? There you go.
no, thanks for listening. I'm excited what this podcast can turn into.
Maybe I'll turn it. No, I was gonna make some kind of joke, but then transformation zebra. No, no, this is
Octopus,
yeah. I can turn to octopus.
salamander.
Yeah. Because we're gonna do at least 8 episodes. So